okay.
And here you are on an interview talking with us, right? And so you are literally a gift guest right now for this concept of co-creation, because you're embodying it, you're modeling it, you're showing the aptitude to say, this makes me a little uncomfortable, but all the good stuff does, right? The walks of faith, right? All the good walks are, right? It's like you get to a point in your life where it's like I've done that, or somebody has, and it's like that doesn't thrill me. What thrills me is seeing what we're capable of. Where can we push the envelope? And the fact that you're able to come together and say, I don't know everything. In fact, I don't know much about this in particular. And I'm willing to sit and talk with others in a co-creative space, allowing for whatever to emerge that's going to emerge come forward. And that is literally the definition of co-creation, where two or more of you gather, there also will I be. And there's this exponential component, because creation itself is the relationship that we all share, right? And when we understand that, we truly are capable of anything if we're willing to open ourselves up, right? So Perry said some really, really crucial things, and they're not just about how he goes about this, how he goes about his life, how he views himself, right? How he approaches problems, how he handles his own discomfort. He gave it all away, folks. He has done the internal mapping to say, okay, I know how I'm going to respond. I know what I'm going to do. I know how to put the things in place. I know how to be successful. And I have enough cellular confidence in my system that says, if this, then this. This is that predictability that happens when you harness your creative energy in an intentional fashion and channel it, like he just got done saying. And you get this kind of almost myopic vision where it's like the stuff happens, right? If you learn to program yourself well, folks, your avatar can kind of exist. It can survive. Survival sort of happens on its own. It's sort of a gimme if we let it be. Then you get to live, right? Then you get to create. And so there's a wealth of stuff in there, and not the least of which was the idea that, oh, you're also going to try to quantify quantum, like I'm on top of everything else. And not to mention the process that we just outlined, the developmental journey you've been through, but now you're going to tackle a topic that everybody talks about, like we all know what we're talking about, but none of us know what we're talking about. None of us really understand it, and it's not very useful, other than
Yeah.
to say there's a whole lot we don't know. Right? Which isn't that kind of how you and I got started talking about creation and evolution, right? We talk about these concepts that we believe. We build lives on top of these concepts. We build worlds. We build definitions of self. We build countries. We build ideologies. Well, everything gets built on top of what we believe about ourselves and our relationship to creation. And when we don't stop to question that, right? I shared with you then, that was one of my biggest eye-opening experiences, was to realize I carry a contradiction inside myself, that I believe in both creation and evolution wholeheartedly. And the world's telling me I can't, right?
Right.
It's like, how
Yeah.
can you not?
Yeah.
Like, literally, evolution is a natural byproduct of creation if you understand it.
Yes.
So it makes
Yes. Yes.
every kind
Yes.
of sense, right? And so here you are looking at these concepts, looking at yourself. That is a man of co-creation. So thank you for the moment to shine that light. And let's say, so what do we do with this, right? You disagree in those spaces, right? How do you actually, some people are listening to this going, oh my gosh, my head's going to explode, right? He's got all these things going on, right? Keep in mind, folks, he takes the time out, his Renaissance time, right? We call it PMCS, right, from the military, but we use prayer, meditation, stillness, and contemplation. You better be
Mm-hmm.
connecting to the field, folks, and you better know how. Otherwise,
Hmm.
something else is running you for sure, right?
Yes.
So how do you take something that's a hot mess, right? But you can see this thread. How do you do that in the midst of it, when it's staticky, when it's frictiony, right? How do you sit in that?
So I think the starting point of all of these things is you ask, what is true? And whatever you think might be true, you need to be willing to put on an anvil and invite other people to smash it as hard as they can. And this is very, very hard for some people to do. There's a song by Rush where one of the lyrics is, illusions are painfully shattered right where discovery starts.
Mm.
And I've always believed the saying by Jesus, the truth will set you free. And I think it's generally true. It's not just true in a religious context. I think it's true. And so like what I'm doing with this right now, and this applies to anybody. Like, if let's say that you just got diagnosed with cancer, this applies to you. Let's say you just broke up with your partner, this applies to you. Let's say that you're starting a new company, this applies to you. You take whatever you think is the case and you say, well, how would I prove this wrong? Or how would I prove that part of this is wrong? How would I find out that the rest of it is true? Like, how would I separate the wheat from the chaff? And whatever that is, then you invite other people to look at it. And the way I do it is like in this project. Well, if I hire people with 10 more years, 20 more years experience in education in this subject than I have, and I say, shoot holes in this, and they do, and I go, but wait a minute, you forgot to consider X. If I can't push back and convince them, then I'm probably wrong. And if I push back and they're like, well, actually, Perry, you are right about that. And sometimes I do, like sometimes I found something they didn't find, usually because I was an outsider.
That's right.
And I wasn't invested in any particular view. And maybe I took the scenic route and I collected these other things, or I know things from other fields. And so I know a counterexample that they didn't really think of. And by the way, outsiders are where all the innovations come from. Bill Gates was an outsider in the computer industry, and Steve Jobs was an outsider, and Larry and Sergey were outsiders, and Fred Smith, who started FedEx, was an outsider. Charles Darwin was an outsider, and Albert Einstein was an outsider, and the guys that started Uber were an outsider. And oh yeah, Elon Musk, definitely an outsider. Was he from the automotive industry? No. Was he from the space industry? No. And innovations almost never come from the inside. And so what I've done most of my career is I've brought the outsider's advantage. Well, I don't know as much of you as you guys do, but I'm more curious than you are, and I've investigated more things. And like, you look around and I got so many crazy kind of books about so many subjects, and I just love to learn and love to explore. And if I know something from evolutionary biology that applies to physics, the physicist probably doesn't know about it. And if butcher, baker, candlestick maker, if you're a candlestick maker, you know stuff that butchers don't know. And you know stuff that bakers don't know. And that's the great thing about being self-taught. And the other thing about self-taught is it doesn't kill your curiosity.
Mm-hmm. I love that. We're going to take a quick break, folks. Perry, when we come back, we're going to dive back into this conversation. Before we go, where can people go to find out more about you?
Go to perrymarshall.info, and you can jump off to any one of a dozen different projects. Let's go to perrymarshall.info. You can find my business stuff, my science stuff, other stuff.
Very beautiful. Before we go to the break, folks, or as we're at the break, be thinking about these things that Perry's bringing up, right? He's bringing up a lot of great nuggets, like be willing to go into spaces where you're not the norm, right? Things that are new to you. Be willing to say, hey, I kind of see this differently, right? Be willing to hear that from others. Those are all really great tips. Focus on those. We're going to be right back after the break. Make sure you're always getting over to superpowerexperts.com. We have new information there all the time to get started on your journey of making your lifetime journey the journey of